It's a lot of work. And the way that I believe businesses have to look at it is they're transforming their organization to reduce the risk that they have if they're not able to do physical transactions. Plus, it's the way that we're going as a consumption society.
George, could you describe the ideal e-commerce business?
When I think e-commerce, Brock, I think a business that's able to conduct commerce with their clients without anyone ever having to walk through a physical doorway. So I don't just think about a shopping cart for the business where you can put stuff in the cart and press a button and charge it on your credit card. I think about booking an appointment online. I think about being able to go look at goods and services online, or even experience a demo of what something might be like if I purchase it. And then however we conduct the transaction after that is fine. Like if it gets delivered to my house, or if I pick it up, or if I even go to the hair salon to get my hair appointment. But the way that I was able to make the buying decision and to actually conduct the transaction occurred, or even began to occur online.
Great, thank you. So what are the most common roadblocks that sales teams face, and how can they smash through those barriers?
Well, it's a lot of work. Whenever you start talking about some sort of an e-commerce transaction or tying some piece of e-commerce to your funnel, the way that a buyer's journey happens in your business. I remember we were coming out of COVID and I'd wanted to buy these shoes that I'm wearing from my local clothier. And I like my local clothier. I get to drive down there and touch and feel things. I buy stuff online, but I try, 70 to 80% of my purchases I make from my local clothier. But yet during COVID, I wasn't able to buy these shoes. And I can't tell you the number of times where I put, brown or beige or whatever these are shoes in a cart. And I'm like, oh, I should buy them locally, especially as COVID started to get longer in the tooth. We really started to focus on local businesses. But I remember speaking to that local clothier afterwards saying, hey, we should get you an e-commerce store. And then I could have bought the shoes and you could have just shipped them to me. And I saw the look of frustration creep over his face, because he knows that he doesn't have the majority of his inventory today in his inventory system. He would have to tie his new inventory and point of sale system to his e-commerce solution. He'd have to find somebody that he trusts to build out the e-commerce store, because he's not tech savvy to do that himself. He'd have to figure out a way to ship all this stuff. So that means now getting a logistics department inside your business. So it's a lot of work. And the way that I believe businesses have to look at it is they're transforming their organization to reduce the risk that they have if they're not able to do physical transactions. Plus, it's the way that we're going as a consumption society. We want to be able to check it out online, look at a review, maybe see a model wearing it. Oh, how tall is that model, so that we can figure out if it's going to look good on us. So it's a lot of work, and I think that's the first thing that everybody kind of tense up and go, oh, I've been avoiding this. Yeah. But what we need to do is just break it down into little pieces and figure out what the best way for that business is to go to business. So for salespeople, you need to build models in your head. You got a model for the barber, you got a model for the snow removal company, you got a model for the clothier, you got a model for the liquor store, whatever it might be, and then have that checklist of the things and the questions that you're going to have to address with the prospect, and just know going in, this is a lot of work, and that's why they're coming to you. If it was easy, everybody would have already done it.
What are the fundamentals of great selling?
Being a good listener, first and foremost. Having integrity. If there's a problem, or if you don't know the answer to a question, go get the right answer rather than making something up. Delivering on your promises, or maybe even over-delivering on your promises. Being the trusted expert. So bringing value to that prospect in either data or models or case studies that give them the answers that they ultimately are looking for. And being a true business partner to the prospect or the client. Like understanding that it has to be a win-win. I think those are some of the fundamentals for sure.
What would you say makes a great sales team?
What makes any great team in sports? And that is having a well-rounded set of talent, either on the bench or that's on the field, having a good infrastructure so that that talent is supported from training and practices and fundamental processes that make them better and challenge them to be better. Figuring out who the leaders are in the group. Some leaders have titles, some leaders are just born leaders, and utilize those leaders to show the rest of the team, what might be possible. And then having an alignment on what the mission is and what the goal is, and having measurements around that so that everybody is, imagine playing basketball with no nets and no scoreboard. It's just not quite going to work out for you. You just got a bunch of people running around with balls. You need to have a set of processes you're going to follow. You need to have a set of measurements that you're going to follow. And then they regularly have timeouts and half times and pre-games where they talk about how they're going to achieve their common goal.
Right. What would you say continual learning means for sales professionals?
I think being a little bit ahead of the game as to where the gap might be, where you're always being innovative. The companies that are winning today are companies that are really focusing on innovation. And I think as a salesperson, you need to be looking at that as well. I started in an industry that really, when you look at the radio business, it hasn't changed that much. You can buy a 30-second commercial, you can buy a 60-second commercial, you might be able to put it next to a newscast, and you can buy a live broadcast. Those four things that are sold are quite similar. Now we live in a world where things change every day. Either it's the tactic that you're deploying or the results that you might expect, or the universe that we're in has changed. Google changes their algorithm, or a set of buyers decide that they're going to conduct business on a different platform. So, today, constant learning needs to be just something that's part of your day-to-day, or at the very least, something that you do every week so that you can stay on the cutting edge and stay innovative for your customer base.
Awesome. How would you define an entrepreneur?
An entrepreneur is a creator. An entrepreneur is a problem solver. An entrepreneur is not easily knocked over. That you're going to get punched in the face as an entrepreneur. You're going to face challenges, but you almost to a fault don't give up, where you're going to get back up and you're going to dust yourself off and go back into that fight. But an entrepreneur also very clearly understands what their mission is and what problem they're trying to solve on behalf of their own organization and then on behalf of their customers.
Do you think it's a good time to be a digital marketing agency?
There's never been a better time. There's never been more confusion, Brock, than there is today. So the various organizations that are out there, and I have the privilege of working with very large organizations and even some of the smallest organizations, and it doesn't matter who you are, you're looking for new ways to innovate. So when we look at digital marketing, I think that it really is tough to be in business if you're not doing it. And there's a big need out there for business owners to rely on a trusted expert. So it's a great time to be in this space, a great time to be learning, great time to be helping businesses, because you can truly see the transformation, pretty much not overnight, but definitely over the course of a few weeks. By deploying the right tactics, you should be able to see results.
For sure. So in this time, what would you say are the biggest challenges facing digital marketing agencies?
Keep it simple, stupid. There's so much that you could do, and there's new widgets being created all the time, and there's a new way to solve problems all the time. I find that the really successful organizations have a very clearly defined group of customers that they're working with, a very clearly defined group of solutions that they're using to solve those problems. And while they're innovative and they may find new solutions, they're sticking with the things that work based upon data, saying, this is what we're doing, trust the process, make sure you're keeping an eye on those leading measures. Organizations that follow that sort of a mindset are the ones that are really, truly being successful.
Great, thank you. What would you say Vendasta's mission is in terms of partnering with agencies and other customers?
Well, we want to be that. We want to be the key to the whole thing. Like we want to help that entire relationship. So from the products and services that you decide to offer to your clients, Vendasta is the backbone. The technological backbone in that choice in that go-to-market discovery, in the building of the marketing funnel and the marketing material, the positioning of the brand story, the salesperson interaction with the prospect, the follow-up that's being done, the recording of all the domain knowledge around the customer relationship, the quote, the performance of what they bought, whether it's a dashboard on SaaS performance or it's actually the project that's being delivered. You can see it at every stage. You know, we sit at the intersection of technology, trust, and need. And in June of this past year, we released the final piece. Not that we're done, but it was the final piece in this journey from lead to purchase to the next purchase. And now we can actually even facilitate the transaction on behalf of the channel partner. So that whole end-to-end piece is where we sit as the trusted provider of the technology, but then also through our Conquer Local branding as that trusted provider of the advice, of the iterations on how to improve, of the training and that learning protocol that all businesses need to be on. So we're in the right place at the right time, and we're watching some of our most successful channel partners grow exponentially by following the best practices that we put forward in the software from a user journey, and then also through the best practices of our success and our partner development teams here.
Great. Thank you very much for your time, George.